Welcome to the most fundamental question of human existence. Look at your life. You believe with every fiber of your being that you are the director, the author, the main character of your own story. You make decisions constantly. What to wear, where to work, whom to love, what to believe. This feeling of agency, this internal conviction that you are the source of your actions, is the bedrock of your identity. But what if this feeling, this profound, inescapable sense of free will, is one of the universe's most persuasive and powerful illusions? What if every single event, every choice you've ever made or will ever make, was predetermined billions of years ago? What if your life is not an improvisational performance, but simply the unfolding of an unbreakable script? This question, the debate over free will, is not a philosophical parlor game. It underpins our entire conception of justice, morality, meaning, and personal responsibility. Over the next hour, we will dive deep into the two warring camps that seek to define the very nature of your reality. The Deterministic Universe, where you are an NPC, and the Emergent Universe, where you are the main character. What is free will? Before we can argue about whether free will exists, we must agree on what we mean by it. The traditional, robust definition of free will, the kind people intuitively believe they possess, requires two crucial conditions to be met. The first condition is the ability to do otherwise. This means that at the moment of your decision, the universe must have genuinely offered multiple possible futures. If you chose coffee this morning, it must be true that, had the entire universe been reset to the exact moment before you chose, you could have, with equal possibility, chosen tea. If only one outcome was physically possible, then the choice was an inevitability, not a free decision. This concept is often called leeway freedom. The second, and perhaps more challenging condition, is sourcehood or ultimate responsibility. This means that the choice must genuinely originate with you. Your choice cannot simply be the unavoidable product of external forces, prior events, or random noise. If your decision to choose coffee was caused by your genetic makeup, your childhood environment, the advertising you saw yesterday, the specific neural wiring in your brain, or some random quantum fluctuation, then you are not the ultimate source. The buck must stop with you, the conscious agent, making an uncoerced, self-determined decision. If either of these conditions fails, the classical notion of free will collapses. You are an NPC, the deterministic universe. The first major philosophical stance is determinism. Determinists argue that the laws of physics are inviolable and that the universe operates like a gigantic, unimaginably complex machine. Every state of the universe is causally necessitated by the state of the universe immediately preceding it, following the unbreakable rules of nature. To grasp the power of this idea, imagine the universe as a vast, cosmic pool table. Every atom, every particle is a tiny billiard ball. The Big Bang was the initial, colossal break. Since that moment, the entire history of the universe, including the formation of galaxies, the evolution of life, the writing of this script, and your decision to listen to it, has been nothing more than a succession of causal collisions. The laws of motion and physics dictate precisely where every single ball will go after every single impact. Once the initial conditions were set, the entire future path of every particle was fixed. Your brain, according to this view, is the most complex assembly of billiard balls in the known universe. Your thoughts, your feelings, your deepest desires, and your conscious choices are merely the electrical and chemical consequences of these physical collisions. When you feel like you are choosing, you are simply experiencing the conscious awareness of a predetermined neural process unfolding. The feeling of choice is real, but the power to choose otherwise is not. This concept was famously articulated by the French mathematician Pierre-Simon Laplace. He hypothesized a hypothetical intelligence, often called Laplace's demon, that could know the exact position and momentum of every single atom in the universe at a given instant. If this demon also knew all the laws of nature, Laplace argued, it could, in principle, calculate the entire past and the entire future of the universe. In this deterministic model, the script of your life was essentially written 13.8 billion years ago. The Big Bang didn't just create space and time. It set the initial conditions for a vast, cosmic supercomputer whose output is the reality you are experiencing right now. From the perspective of the universe's physics, your actions are as fixed as the orbit of Mars. You are not the programmer, you are the program, and there is no escape from the code. The determinist argument often relies on an exhaustive chain of cause and effect. Your choice today was caused by the state of your brain yesterday. That state was caused by your experiences last week, your genetic inheritance, the dinner you ate, and 1,000 other factors. Tracing this chain back far enough leads inexorably to the Big Bang. If every link in the chain is fixed, then the final outcome, your current action, is also fixed. The belief that you could have acted otherwise is simply a profound ignorance of the preceding causes that made your action inevitable. A major challenge to classical determinism comes from modern physics, specifically quantum mechanics. At the fundamental level, the laws of physics seem to be indeterministic. Things like radioactive decay or the position and momentum of a subatomic particle before measurement appear to be genuinely random events, governed only by probabilities, not fixed causes. Some people propose that quantum randomness or indeterminacy might be the loophole that allows for free will. Perhaps these random quantum events occurring in the brain are amplified to affect our neural firings, thus injecting a genuine moment of open possibility into the chain of events. However, a closer look reveals that randomness does not solve the problem of free will, it merely replaces one problem with another. 1. If my action is the result of deterministic causes, my genes, my environment, my past, I am an NPC, a slave to the past. 2. If my action is the result of pure, uncaused, quantum randomness, then it is just noise or luck. A random flip of a coin inside my brain is not an act of my will. It removes ultimate control from me and hands it over to cosmic dice. For a choice to be free, it must be neither wholly determined nor purely random. It must be controlled and authored by the conscious self. Randomness only destroys the chain of cause and effect. It does not introduce genuine sourcehood. The hard determinist concludes that whether the universe is purely deterministic or includes some quantum randomness, the classic idea of free will remains incoherent and impossible. Or you are the main character, the Emergent Universe. The second major camp, one that seeks to salvage free will, argues that the determinists are making a fundamental error. They are committing a form of reductionism. They are looking at the universe only through the lens of its smallest, simplest parts, the atoms and particles, and missing the astonishing complexity and novelty that arises when these parts combine. This is the argument for emergence. Emergence is the phenomenon where a complex system exhibits brand new properties that cannot be predicted or explained by looking only at the system's individual components. The property is real, but it only exists at the level of the complex system. Think of the property of wetness. A single water molecule, H2O, is not wet. Wetness is not a property of hydrogen or oxygen atoms. But once billions of them interact in specific ways, the macroscopic property of wetness suddenly emerges. You cannot reduce wetness out of existence by saying, it's just H2O, wetness is real. Another great example is a traffic jam. A traffic jam is a real phenomenon that can slow thousands of people down and cause real economic cost. But a traffic jam is not a property of a single car or a single driver. It is an emergent phenomenon of many cars interacting in a crowded space. The laws of physics governing a single car don't explain the emergent behavior of the jam. The universe, according to the emergent view, is organized into layers or hierarchies, each operating under its own rules. $1 layer 2, chemistry, the rules for molecules. $1 layer 4, psychology and consciousness, the rules for thoughts, beliefs, and the self. Emergentists argue that at a certain threshold of complexity, a new layer of reality pops into existence. When the atoms in the brain are organized in the impossibly complex structure of a human central nervous system, a new entity, consciousness, emerges. This consciousness, this you, is not just a bunch of atoms. You are the pattern, the system, the software that is running on the hardware of the brain. Critically, this higher layer of reality can influence and constrain the lower levels, a process called downward causation. A conscious thought, which exists only at layer 4, is not merely the effect of neural firing. It can be the cause of subsequent neural firing. When you decide to lift your arm, the will to move, an emergent psychological phenomenon, exerts a downward causal influence on the atoms and electrical signals in your motor cortex to make the movement happen. The human brain is, by far, the most complex object in the known universe. It contains roughly 86 billion neurons, each connected to thousands of others, leading to an astronomical number of possible states, far exceeding the number of particles in the observable cosmos. To the emergentist, when this staggering complexity organizes itself, the self and the capacity for conscious, rational thought is born. This emergent self is the entity that engages in deliberation, self-reflection, planning, and goal-setting. These are not properties of carbon atoms or neurotransmitters. They are properties of the system. Therefore, when the self makes a choice, it is a real choice made at a high level of organization, a level where the deterministic laws governing the base particles are transcended, or at least redirected, by the high-order rules of consciousness and reason. The emergentist view allows for the possibility that our experience of sourcehood is not an illusion, but the reality of a new layer of causal power introduced into the universe by biological complexity. Compatibilism, the middle ground, a major group within the free will debate, are the compatibilists. They are often grouped with the emergentists as they seek to reconcile the deterministic nature of the universe with the idea of free will. Compatibilists argue that the strict definition of free will used by determinists, the one requiring the absolute ability to do otherwise and ultimate sourcehood, is too demanding. They propose a more practical, human-scale definition of freedom. For a compatibilist, an action is free if it meets two criteria. 1. It is done in accordance with the agent's desires, beliefs, and character. If you chose coffee because you genuinely wanted coffee, then the action is free. 2. It is free from coercion or external constraint. If no one was holding a gun to your head, the action is free. They argue that it doesn't matter that the desires and beliefs which caused the choice were themselves the result of a deterministic chain extending back to the Big Bang. What matters is the mechanism right now. If the mechanism is internal, your conscious will, it counts as free. They redefine free will not as an escape from causality, but as a specific kind of causality, one where the cause originates internally with the self. To the compatibilist, you are free simply because you are not coerced. The feeling of freedom is the reality of freedom, even if the underlying universe is deterministic. The practical implications, does it even matter? The debate over free will is not just a theoretical exercise. It cuts to the heart of what it means to be human and forms the basis of our social structures. Moral responsibility and justice, the most profound implication, is for moral responsibility. $1 If emergence or compatibilism is true, then our systems of justice are fundamentally validated. If the conscious, deliberating self genuinely makes a choice that could have been avoided, then that self is truly accountable. Retribution, reward, and moral praise all retain their fundamental meaning. On a personal level, how does believing in determinism affect us? Research suggests that when people are led to believe that free will is an illusion, they are, on average, more likely to cheat, act aggressively, and show reduced willingness to help others. Why? Because the belief in free will is a powerful psychological tool for self-control and motivation. If you believe your effort and choices actually matter, you try harder. If you believe your life is an inevitable script, the motivation to strive, improve, and resist temptation can erode. Even determinists often admit that, for all practical purposes, we must live as if we are free. You can't stop yourself from deliberating over a decision, even if you believe the outcome is fixed. The process of weighing options, of reflecting on consequences, of planning for the future, this is the very nature of human consciousness. It is a necessary step in the cosmic cause and effect chain. So whether the choice is truly free or merely an unfolding inevitability, the act of choosing is an essential and unavoidable part of your existence. We are left, ultimately, with an unresolved mystery that sits at the frontier of physics, philosophy, and neuroscience. The deterministic side offers a universe that is elegant, predictable, and fully explained by physics. It tells us the self is a beautiful, complex side effect, a conscious awareness of a chemical reaction, but not the driver of that reaction. You are a masterpiece of mechanics, but a spectator in your own life. The emergent side offers a universe that is richer, full of surprising complexity, and that aligns with our deepest, most powerful intuition, the feeling that we are the captain of our soul. It argues that new realities, the power of reason, the force of will, can emerge from simple matter, creating a genuine causal agent where none existed before. You are not just the canvas, you are the artist. The debate forces us to confront the limits of our understanding. Is our deep, internal feeling of agency the highest truth we possess? Or is it merely the most persuasive fiction ever concocted by a brain trying to make sense of a machine-like cosmos? Regardless of which side you lean toward, you must now face the present moment. Right now, your brain is processing this information. A neural cascade is beginning, leading to your next action. You can't stop it. You will make a decision. You will act. You will choose. Will you click on the next video or stand up and go for a walk? Will you reflect on this question or immediately dismiss it? Whatever you do, the entire history of the universe has led to this moment. Make your choice, and for the fleeting, beautiful instant in which you act, you will feel with absolute certainty that the choice was entirely and only yours. Thank you for exploring the illusion of choice.